Hey, what's going on, everybody? Redbeard here with Sentinels of Liberty podcast. As you might know, or have obviously through the premier lens of observation, there's no flashy intro. There's no um, there's no thumbnail that's going to go with this one. Kind of what you see is what you get, but rather we need to have a serious conversation here. A conversation that I feel gets lost pretty often. Um, uh, Whether it's due to the expeditious nature of emotion, whether it is due for reasons such as the expeditious want or desire for justice. Um, we have to have a conversation about our country, and I'm not going to drag this out very long, about liberty and about where we ultimately are going to end up. And we're on a very precarious path. What happened today? What's happened previous days? What's happened, you know, over the course of the last several years? I think is troubling and it's disturbing. There's going to be this need for, I think, by some people to just start pointing fingers, and there's going to be this obsession or this compulsion to try and drive the narrative or whatever it is that they want, uh, whatever way that they see fit. There's this left and right paradigm that exists where you're going to see people screaming from the rooftops the persecution of people on the left, and we see it vice versa. And ultimately, what you're going to also see, even if it doesn't stay around for a while, is you're going to have people that are going to vehemently argue for the disbanding or the breaking up or whatever the case is of the entirety of the left, or calling them all domestic terrorists, or whatever it is that people want to say. It's going to come, and ultimately there's this underlying situation to where we will see that there will exist some people on the right that will have the same emotional outrage and breakdown and all of these other key things that they constantly blame the people on the left of, and they're going to have them. And through this cycle of outrage and through this cycle of frustration and anger and just all of these different emotions, there is a cautionary tale here. What tends to happen with situations like this is, whether it's spokenly or unspokenly, there is always some type of a persecution of one side or the other that comes through. You have people that will call for, again, like I said, the disbanding or barring or banning or whatever the case is, not even thinking in the, moving forward, what type of precedent that sets. Everybody thinks only in the here and now, only what can happen. They only think about today. They don't ever think about a year down the road, 2 years down the road, whatever. Like you can make all the excuses you want. You can argue all you want, but I'm here to tell you persecution turns around. And this is why the party system, it was rebuked by many of the founders. This is why the party system was despised by Washington. It's why this tribalism is horrible, because whatever you call for today will be used against you. If you argue for the deprivation of people's rights today, the deprivation of their liberty today, of people that you hate, right? And we're going to get on to the object of hate in just a moment. If you make these arguments today, I want you to write it down, and I want you to remember it for when you start whining about the Democrats or the left or whoever it is that you supposedly dislike, when they start to do it to you. And remember that you are the ones ultimately that asked for it. And I'm just saying this because this is what happens. We've seen this time and time and time and again. You get these horrible situations that occur, and the first thing that people do, without even digesting, they want to persecute, they want to incriminate, they want to throw the first person that's suspected in jail behind bars, throw away the key, or some people just want to outright kill these people, right? Or hang them, or whatever the case is. Like, this is not the way that we are supposed to conduct ourselves as an American. As Americans. People want to throw away due process. They want to throw away all of these different things. And look, like, in the end of the day, you know, I'm just not about that. You know, like, you can hate whatever it is that I'm saying right now, but I'm here to tell you, like, you set these precedents, you push these precedents today, and they will be used against you, and invariably 10 times worse. It always happens. It always happens. And people are, you know, and I'll put it like this, like, everybody, you know, like, this situation, you're going to have people that will say that, you know, like, oh, you know, this side's exploiting it. Well, the side that's arguing that is also exploiting it. We have seen way too much of this stuff. And with every single time that this type of thing happens, every single time, you always have people that are going to push for the deprivation of rights and liberty, for more just ridiculous situations in which it's like, no, just strip their rights. We don't care about them. They're not deserving of rights. We don't do this. We don't do that. No, like, look, you set the standard today, and it's going to happen to you tomorrow. It will it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. And when it does come around, you're going to whine and complain and argue and say how terrible they are for using the very standard that you enacted upon other people. And we're right back where we are. And it becomes a situation to where it's like, have you learned nothing? Have you learned nothing? And you have all these people that talk about liberty and rights and all of these different things, and yet as soon as something happens, it's right to blaming. It's right to arguing for the restriction of rights. It's right for these people need to be thrown into the gulag or whatever it is, right? You got people gnashing with their teeth like demons at each other's throats all the time. And liberty and rights doesn't matter anymore. I'm not here to play that game. I'm not here to play that game. This is not the channel or the podcast, whatever you want to call it. This is not the game that I play. You can sit in your cycles and you can argue for the persecution of other people all the time. But this is not where that's not where I fall. Even our founders knew that the most reprehensible of our own adversaries and our enemies, if we don't protect their rights and liberties today, then we'll have none tomorrow. Events like this are the precursor to destroying more and more and more of your rights and liberties, because they know that the people in power know that you will you will gnash with your teeth to see these things taken away from somebody else, and down the road they will use them against you. We are at a fork, another fork in the road. Justice must be done, but justice must be done with due process. Justice must be done in an appropriate manner. It's disgusting what happened today. But I will never argue for what happened today ever for either the persecution or the deprivation of liberty and rights for somebody else tomorrow. I will never use a crisis to argue for the deprivation of rights and liberty for somebody else. Never. I'm not going to do that. And you can stop this, you can record it, you can come back to me in 10 years. It's not going to happen. Anybody that's read history knows how that goes. And yet we have a society of people that I do think there are good people in the society. I really do. But there is a subsection of society on both the left and the right that are so emotionally charged that as soon as something like this happens, they have to whip into a frenzy and just create this hurricane and this cycle of chaos. And then when everything's all said and done and the cards are laid bare on the table, then people are just left, just dismayed. Oh my gosh, things really kind of got out of control, whatever the case is. Or some people maybe just have no moral imperative and they're perfectly okay with how things end up. We're at a very dangerous point with the culmination of all these events. A very dangerous point. And we have to be extremely careful with what happens next. We cannot allow ourselves to continue to devolve in this situation that we are ever. And to be honest, I didn't even want to make this video tonight because I wasn't sure what I even wanted to say, but I did know to some degree that there has to be a reminder to people not to allow crisis to drive the things that we do next. We need time to decompress. We need time to process. We need to be able to clearly evaluate the situation and find a constructive way forward. And I know that you're going to have people that are like, oh, we got to take up arms. We've got to do this. We've got to do that. This is the breaking point. And as I've mentioned to several of my friends and many other people that I've talked to, I have but one question to ask you. Okay, Mr. Let's take up arms. Great. What's your plan? It's the one question nobody can ever actually answer. It's the one question nobody can ever put forth a logical, proper, detailed answer to, because they have no plan. They run in this emotional tank of diesel and gasoline, and they don't ever actually think about what comes next. But we got to take up arms, right? That's how it goes. And you see this on both the left and the right. And every single time that you hear people do this type of thing, they never have the plan for after. There's never any foresight. It's always just again, it's this cudgel mentality to where everything needs to be hit with the cudgel. It's always the visceral emotional reaction. There's no, God forbid, anybody actually steps back and evaluates everything that's going on and asks, does this check out? Does this, have we gone through the process? And, people are going to say, well, the government's so corrupt. The government's this, the government's that, blah, 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 blah. Yes, that very well may be. That very well may be the case. And that is the case in a lot of things. But then it's what are you going to do? What are you going to do? Getting hyper emotional about it solves nothing. It doesn't do anything, and especially when it comes at the expense of your rights and your liberty, setting a precedent that they can just take things away anytime that they want. I thought we learned this lesson from COVID. I thought we learned this lesson from so many other events in our history And you have all these people that sit there and talk about tragedy and how tragedies never let a good crisis go to waste. But yet you have people that want the crisis to be used. The very same people that will walk up to you and get into this conversation about liberty and rights and never letting a good crisis go to waste. That's the government motto. But yet here you have, you're already starting to see people that are already arguing for this stuff. Make it make sense. I'm not doing the typical video that I'm sure most people are going to do. What happened to Charlie Kirk is terrible. What happened to so many other people is horrible. It's tragic. It really is. It's very tragic. But I mean, we have to have a sense of ourselves to be able to move ahead in a reasonable way. And I'm not talking about all the people that, aren't rational, right? Like I'm talking to you guys and to anybody else who might listen to this. We got to do this right. We got to do this right. Because if we don't, our children will suffer for it. They will, 100%. And we will create an outcome that is so morally reprehensible and depraved. Even so much more than all the events that happened today and before. We can't allow them to be used as a precedent to destroy more. If anything, this should be a situation in which people come together and we support each other. We work together for common cause. And we do everything we can to make sure that not only do these things, I'm not even going to use the thing or the saying that make sure this never happens again. It's not a thing, but we can mitigate it. We can build proper communities and we can build good local structures. And we can mitigate these things. And when we learn how to do that, we can also learn how to respond to these things in a responsible way. So when we move forward, we can do it in the right way. This tragedy will invariably be used to argue for the expansion of government. It will be used to argue for the usurpation of liberties and rights, knowingly or unknowingly by people who claim to support those things. And ultimately it will be used, it's just like another step off point to something else. It's terrible. It's absolutely terrible. So I put forth like just a word of caution. Be trepidatious. Don't be impulsive. Don't be allow yourself time to decompress from this and gather all the information and move forward in a good way. It's all I got for you. And in doing that, we've also got to be careful about hatred. We really do. Like, we can't allow stuff to eat us up like that. It's a situation to where, like, I already saw it a ton to where you had people on the right just saying terrible things, and you had people on the left saying terrible things, and in this divisiveness in the realm of hatred that does exist. I know some people are going to say that doesn't exist. It does exist in all circles. There is not one segment of society that does not have some realm of hatred to it, and I'm here to tell you we cannot allow that to overcome us and to ultimately drive our decisions. We can't. So I know this isn't the rah warrior mentality, high speed, low drag speech, that I'm sure as with the days to come, you're going to have people that'll put that out there. you know, got to take the fight to the enemy, you know, like in, again, you know, so many people want a physical evolution of that. And I'm just here to tell you, like, there's more than one way. There's more than one way. And if it comes to that, then it does come to that. But in the end of the day, look, I mean, a lot of the people who want the physical battle, more often than not, they're people who really aren't trying to begin with. And I know that might irritate some people, but, you know, like, how many people are working with organizations? How many people are being involved, you know, in the apparatus that exists? How many people go to the meetings? How many people do anything beyond just sit there and call for whatever armed rebellion? And again, that also lines up with this idea that, like, when you ask these people what their plan is, they don't have one. They don't have one. So that's all I got, man. It's very sad. It's a very unfortunate situation, and it hurt my heart today to know that it happened, and it hurts my heart anytime I hear about anything like this happening. Anything. It's we really need to take this time just to reflect, not only as individuals but as a country. We have to, and not just in the United States, but all over. And I've said this before, and I'll say it again: what kind of people do we want to be? And I'll kind of leave it there. I appreciate everybody that came by and checked out the live. Yeah, definitely not something I was anticipating doing. I was thinking about holding it off till Saturday, but I had to say something, and I do want to put it out there too, that, like, taking these positions to want to be considerate and to be thorough and to come at this from a point of reason and trepidation, and not impulsiveness, not hatefulness, not this visceral immediate reaction that doesn't make you weak. It doesn't make you less of a person. It doesn't make you, you know, like, you have a lot of people with this, just like this warrior mentality. It doesn't make you less. If anything, it makes you smarter than a lot of other people. And I think our response, we got to be measured. So, yeah, Centerline, I appreciate it. Gene, as always, Gene the Machine. It's always great to see you. And to anybody else who does happen to see this, you may disagree. You may have a different position of doing things. David, appreciate it. And look, I mean, these are discussions that we have to have. They're uncomfortable. They're not great. But we have to be smart about it. So go with liberty, guard it with jealousy, and walk with trepidation the next few days. Don't get sucked into all of the hysterics. Don't get sucked into the rhetoric. Don't get sucked into the divisiveness, the hate, the precedents, because we know it's coming. And spend time with your families and your friends and people that you care about, and talk to each other, check in on each other, do all that kind of stuff. We need each other, man. So have a great night, and we will see you tomorrow at 1800 for our 9/11, kind of our 9/11 episode, 9/11 special. So I'll be joined with a couple great people. So till then, take care. God bless. Go with liberty.